right, everybody. Sorry about the delay for anybody watching live. We had a little bit of technical difficulties today, but we're now live with episode 33 of Just the Gi Top podcast. So today we have Brian Johnson. Brian's a black belt under the Machado brothers, and David Meyer and John Will. So he's a multiple-time world champion. So Brian, first of all, thank you very much for being on today.
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. So just to go over our regular podcast members as usual, we have Ahmed Chirani.
Hello.
Traveling for business today, wearing the Pahada Gear t-shirt there. We've got Jordan Short.
Hey.
We've got Rami Chirani.
Yo.
And myself.
And just real quick, I just want to send out a shout out to our sponsor, Pahada Gear. We gave away one of the t-shirts already. It was the black and red SF Gate t-shirt. And we have two more items that we're giving away. One will be the beanie, and then we're actually giving away another shirt, which I think is the skull yellow. But just stay posted on the Facebook page, and you'll be able to see that. You can check out all the Pahada Gear stuff at pahadagear.com. It's PORRADAGEAR.com.
Well done, Rami. All right, so Brian.
Sorry, Adam. Just really quick. So Clark Gregg will be on for those who are listening. There was a last-minute schedule conflict. That's Hollywood, I guess, so we couldn't get him on. But we're looking really soon, like we're talking very soon. I just don't want to give a date in case things change again, but it has been rescheduled, and we're looking to announce that probably the day before it happens, just to make sure things are still on track. So that's it. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So Brian, maybe you could just tell us a bit about yourself, just kind of what got you started in martial arts and what your martial arts journey's been so far.
Sure. I started, I was one of those kids that my mom just needed to get me out of the house because I was breaking things. So she put me in judo when I was 6. So I started there. And then, because I'm only 5'7", my basketball career was not going to take off, so I did wrestling. So I started wrestling in junior high, high school. And then I think, probably just like everybody else, I saw a videotape, a VHS tape of Hoist Gracie, and that was 1993, and I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 1994, and I've been doing it every day ever since. So started up my own school in 2000, we actually started in 1999 in my garage, if you can actually call that a school, but I've been doing it ever since.
So when did you get your black belt?
I got my black belt in 2005. I started doing jiu-jitsu in 1994, but, as you guys know, in 1994, there wasn't a whole lot of jiu-jitsu around, right? So I started training in 1994 under a blue belt, and he got his blue belt from Rigan Machado. And so I was training with him, and then he left, moved away, and that's when I opened up my own school in 1999. And so I never really had a coach with me all the time. So I would travel and train and come back and work things out. So it took me a little bit longer to get my black belt, I think. But I think I'm probably the better for it, because it really taught me how to, really be in charge of my own training. So 2005, John Will, David Meyer came up to do a seminar, and they gave me my black belt at that time. So.
That's awesome. So how are you traveling to train?
Yeah, sorry, what was that?
I was just wondering how far you were traveling to train when you didn't have an instructor.
Well, listen, for the most part, I was just heading down to California from Seattle, because that seemed like, that's where Rigan was at the time. Most all the brothers were there at that time, and then some, American guys that were training with Rigan that were remarkably good, like Bob Bass and Rick Williams, like these guys, and that's when I first met David, because David was training with Rigan. So mostly it was just down to California, but then also a big part of it is I had some family in New Mexico. And I would go there every now and then and train with a guy out of Santa Fe named Alberto Crane.
Oh, yeah, we know.
Yeah, right?
The Alberto Crane?
Well, we don't know him. Yeah, we don't, yeah.
I saw him at the American National. think
I spent many years getting smashed by Alberto Crane. So yeah, so that's the thing. I was going there, and I was training with him, and then mostly just down in California and training with everybody that I could. Mostly either the Machado brothers or black belts of the Machados.
that's crazy. So
Awesome.
you've kind of been around since like you're like one of the OGs for jiu-jitsu, really. Like even in the
Yeah,
area. Like
it's funny, like that's like I said, back in the day, especially in Seattle, when I first wanted to do jujitsu and started searching out jujitsu, I thought, uh, well, I'll just go look in the phone book or I'll just call somebody, and I realized there wasn't anybody teaching jujitsu in 1994, and I talked to my old judo coach, and he knew of a guy who knew of a guy that was teaching jujitsu. But it was like one of these crazy things where this guy, Glenn Barber, he was a blue belt, was teaching jujitsu out of an Aikido school on Tuesday at 2:30. So like if you were like yeah, right. So if you had a regular job or anything like that, you couldn't really train jujitsu. And fortunately, either my priorities were completely out of whack or my priorities were right, but I went to my boss. I was working construction at the time, and I said, "Listen, I got to take Tuesdays off. So I'll work on Saturday, I'll work on Sunday, but I need to take Tuesday off because I want to start trying to do this thing called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu," and that's how it started. So I feel like, and now in Seattle, we've got a pretty good, and pretty rich community in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now. But I really do feel like, yeah, I was one of the first guys in this town to do Jiu-Jitsu for sure.
yeah, that's crazy. What like I know you said like you had a job at the time. Are you still the same? Like, do you have a job as well, or are you full time own your academy and run it?
I'm a full-time jiu-jitsu competitor and coach at this point.
So,
Yeah, this has been my sole source of income, teaching at my academy and teaching seminars since probably I think 2004. So, yeah, 10 years.
Oh,
Gosh, is that right? Yeah, 10 years.
so when was it at in 2004 when you decided to make that switch?
Yeah, like I said, I started my school in 1999, and again, if you could consider being in my garage of school, but I still had to have other outside work, and I think probably about 10 years ago, 2004 was when I had enough students to be able to justify, really pouring my heart into just making this my career. And fortunately, then 2005, when I got my black belt, I was able to do a lot of seminars and stuff, which really helped out. I teach quite a few seminars every year, and that really does help out, especially with traveling and competing and stuff. As you guys know, that can get pretty expensive. So
Yeah, it's crazy.
hey, Brian, sorry, everyone can hear me clear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, good. Sorry, just as Adam mentioned, I'm away on business, so I'm living that cash money lifestyle now. So no, so yeah, I just have just a quick question for you, Brian. So, this is an interesting angle that I want to go through with you is the whole school aspect. Like, well, of course, we'll get into your accomplishments and your tournaments and what have you, but you started your school in 2005, right?
yeah. No,
So
I
now,
started my school in 1999. I got
oh,
my
sorry,
black
out
belt.
of the garage.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No.
So when what made you make that jump financially? When did you like I guess what I'm asking is like, did you have to take a loan? Did you have to? Is this something you've been saving for a couple of years? We've had people on the guests in the past saying that they really want to start school when they're a little older and when they get their black belt.
Sure.
Can you step us through like a little bit of the process of getting your own place started? Maybe partnerships or loans, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I think obviously there's several different ways in which you can do it. For me, I just didn't want to go into massive amounts of debt. I had a family, I had kid to take care of and things like that. So for me, I started really small, and I have managed to stay out of debt. And not have to take out big loans. And plus, I'm such a control freak that a partner wouldn't work out for me. So, I started off, like I said, in my in my garage teaching, and then from my garage I started teaching out of other schools, which was huge for me. At that time, a karate school, I was teaching their jiu-jitsu class on like Tuesday and Thursday night, and was able to kind of, build a following from there. My first dojo was 400 square feet, if you can even call that a dojo. And
Wow.
so I just slowly progressed over the years, and have managed now. I mean, my school is almost 5,000 square feet. I have 2 mat floors. I have a strength and conditioning center in the back. But I just started really slow and just started to pick away. Um, I mean, I think there's some great opportunities out there with like these big organizations and stuff like that. But, you know, I just wanted to start off small and not go into debt and just, build something that I was really proud of. So I don't know if that's the right way. That's just the way that I did it,
Like it's like you were kind of driven by passion, it seems, and it's just like you didn't want to do something crazy or drastic where you're just buying this huge place or renting this huge house.
Absolutely, man. And the other thing, and which, and again, here I don't think that there's anything wrong with like affiliating with a big company or going to having a Baja Gracie school or anything like that. But for me, it was just always about just wanting to get on the mat and wrestle, and that was really where my passions lie. And like even now today, a lot of guys ask me, they want some kind of affiliation. And so I get approached all the time about what does it take to be a Brian Johnson affiliate. And, I always just say, well, I mean, train with me. Like, let's just train jujitsu. I mean, that's step number one. And then if you're one of my students and we train and you like how I teach and we get along well, I don't care if you put my logo up on your sign or things like that. But that's kind of always the approach that I took is I just wanted to train. I just wanted to train and slowly kind of progress, and I think I was lucky enough to get in with the Machado brothers early on. That really didn't pressure me to have a huge school or be an affiliation or anything like that. They just were genuinely wanting to see me, progress in jiu-jitsu and just really enjoyed teaching and training themselves. So I just got really lucky, I think.
That seems like almost like the common pattern with people who encounter the Machados. Like we had John Machado on, and he was just like kind of like as a person kind of blew us away a little bit. But it seems like every single other person that I've talked to has even come close to contact with the Machados. They just have nothing but good things to say about them. It's really cool.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, my first instructor was a guy named Glenn Barber, like I said, and he was a blue belt under the Machado brothers. And, at that time, the Gracies were the name. And I mean, well, they still are the name, but I remember going down to California like in 1995, with Glenn, and we were going to train with as many people as we possibly could. And we went into the Gracie Academy and we went all kinds of different places. And I think at that time I was really drawn to the Machado brothers just because of their teaching style and their personality. I mean, they were just super nice guys. And then, fortunately, several years later, when I could really understand the levels of jiu-jitsu and things like that, I was pleasantly surprised that not only are they just really nice guys, but, oh, yeah, they're the best in the world, too. So that was a bonus, Like, it was, oh, great,
That's it. It's crazy. Like I know, like it's kind of crazy because it's just like how many brothers? Is it 5 brothers?
Yeah, there's 5 of them.
And it's just like all friggin' killers, like every one of them, but really nice.
I know that's the most amazing thing. I'll tell you. Hodger Machado is he's kind of the quiet one, or the one that kind of is in the background a little bit. Not nearly as out front as like say Jean-Jacques or Higgin. And so you would kind of then assume, well, then Hodger's maybe not the real competitive one, or maybe he's just like the real kind of, the lesser of the brothers. And then you get on the mat with him, and he just destroys you. He's like one of the best, It's unbelievable.
Crazy.
They're all phenomenal. And they all have very different styles, which is really cool, too, by the way.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think that's something that's really like unique about jiu-jitsu too, is that like you can train the same place with the same people, and each person can have a completely different style.
You know what's
For
really,
sure.
you know what's crazy is like because my brother is the guy who's in the hotel right now. We're brothers, and we started training together. But I found at one point our games, it kind of blows my mind that Machados are so different because we trained all the time together, and our games were like identical. It was like fighting a mirror. It was crazy.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I think the big thing was, and especially with the Machados, like I've talked to them, kind of, had the luxury of being able to kind of talk to them on a personal level and stuff, and they're all like, in a good way, they're all very competitive. And so, like, if Jean-Jacques got really good at, the hooks in guard game, it was the mission of the other brothers to try to shut down Jean-Jacques' guard game. So it was whatever one of them started to get really good at, the other ones tried to figure out ways to kind of squash them. It was really great. And I think because of that, they really embraced all kinds of different styles and didn't try to mirror each other, which is kind of cool. I mean, it's an interesting thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Brian, when you promote, like, so sorry, do you have any black belts of your own yet, or?
I've promoted two people to black belt. My first black
Okay,
belt was a guy named John McFarlane, and my second black belt I just gave about a year and a half ago, a female named Denise Holcomb, and she
okay,
she just got a silver at the Masters and Seniors Worlds. Denise did.
awesome.
It's
Wow.
phenomenal. Yeah.
So yeah, so I was actually, I'm glad you mentioned that because I was leading into one other question I had.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on giving promotions based on people who do not compete? I mean, you get you get people who, just go out there and like to get in shape and what have you. But do you have a firm belief that in order, especially black belt, like the coveted black belt, do you feel that they must compete? And especially coming from yourself, who's a active competitor to this day.
Yeah. I don't think in order to obtain the black belt you have to compete. But I will say this, and which I think you guys know, when you do compete, you get such a deeper understanding of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You get such a deeper understanding of what it takes and what the levels are, that I think when you compete, you just naturally progress faster, and you just become better, quicker. And the other thing too is I'll say is that, for me, a lot of times when you have a brown belt, like a really good solid brown belt, and they're on the mat with a black belt, a lot of times it's very close in how they roll. But the big difference to me between what a brown belt is and what a black belt is, a lot of times comes down to just their deep knowledge of jujitsu and their ability then to be able to teach it and things like that. And I really do feel like when you compete, you really get a deep understanding of uh, what other people need to progress in jujitsu. So I do feel like it's a crash course. Competing is in getting better. But no, I'm not going to, for whatever reason, if somebody doesn't want to compete or can't compete, I'm never going to hold anybody back and not promote them because they don't compete.
So Brian, and that's an awesome answer. But going to competing, do you compete for your love and for your, gaining more knowledge of the game, or I forgive the question, but is it like a good business move to say like, hey, look, the black belt Brian Johnson. Not only is he a black belt, but he's a very good competitor as well. Or maybe that's a bad question to ask, but it's something I've always wondered.
It's not a bad question at all. I mean, it's actually very real, especially
Hmm.
now, nowadays when, I mean, I'll say this. Originally, I started competing because, I mean, I came from a judo and a wrestling background where, I mean, you competed every weekend. That's just the way it was. And so, it just seemed like when I entered into jujitsu, that just seemed like it wasn't even a question. It was like you did jujitsu so that you could get out there on the mat and test yourself. And I mean, and I love it. I love it. I just love being competitive, and so that was the original motivation. But you're right. I mean, I'll say this. Uh, you know, I had way more guys that were calling me to want me to come out
Mm.
and do seminars. So it turned out to be a good move, you know. And then obviously last year I
Yeah.
just won the NoGi Worlds again, and same thing. I mean, it's funny how people forget from 2009, you know, once you win it again in 2013, then all of a sudden your phone starts ringing again and they want you to come out and teach a seminar. So it actually is a good business move.
It
It's
is.
not my main motivation, but it sure does help, you know.
There's
No, I'm
something
I'm really
about
glad you.
winning.
Yeah.
There's
Go
something
ahead,
about
Serge.
winning worlds that like really sort of validates your technique and your abilities, I guess.
Well, for sure, and I will say this, you know, and I mean, I think you guys know this. I think this is pretty, you know, common knowledge that a good competitor doesn't necessarily make them a good coach. Sometimes it does, and that's awesome, you know, but it doesn't necessarily make them a good coach. But for some reason, yeah, it just adds a little bit of, you know, yeah, it just legitimizes it a little bit. This guy not only, you know, teaches jujitsu and talks about jujitsu, but then he actually goes out there and tests himself and things like that. And I always do respect, you know, guys that are willing to go out there, win, lose, or draw, and just step on the mat and just challenge themselves. And it's funny, you know, and I think everybody else kind of feels that same way because, you know, you win a world championship and all of a sudden your phone starts ringing. So it's cool, you know.
Yeah, no, so yeah, that's exactly it. It's like I don't know what the scene is like in Seattle. You said it's starting to become, really, really powerful and a little more full. But I was wondering, like, are you the most popular, school right now in the Seattle area, would you say? And if so, is it due mostly to your tournament experience?
Well, you know, I mean, I'll tell you this, and I think I'm gonna try to be very careful here. I mean, I think with the uh, machine behind Baja Gracie, that
Mm,
they are, it's a that you know Seattle Baja Gracie, it's a very popular school. They have a ton of students, and they have a very tight run ship, and I think they're doing a great job in that area. But for sure, as far as you know, competitions go and active competitors that are also instructors, I think I'm probably the most decorated guy up here, and I
nice.
think that people there are certain people that really search that out, and so yeah, I do feel like that probably because the other thing too, you guys is and again, we were talking earlier about starting up a school and stuff. It's funny, I don't know that I'm necessarily the guy to talk to because I started off pretty slow and so on and so forth. And the other thing is I do no advertising. I mean, I've never done any advertising. I think people just, you know and follow like my competitions and things like that, and then maybe they're drawn to me by that or word of mouth. You know, people they came to one of my seminars and they really liked my teaching style, so they searched me out. But you know, I mean, I think there's a lot of great schools up here, and so I would never want to say that you know one is better than the other. But I think I'm probably, if not the most decorated, one of the most decorated competitors up here in the Northwest for sure.
Nice. Brian, another quick question. Well, my questions are never quick. Another question.
It's all right.
So, um, so lately, well, we've been having a lot of we've had a lot of guests on. Like,
Hmm.
this is the episode number 33, I believe. So we've had 32 other guests and some young guys, young women as well, who are choosing to pursue jujitsu full time.
Yeah.
Um, some of them have a good support system from their instructor and coach. Some are, have to do seminars on their own and travel school to school, trying to make a little bit of money. Do you have any students? I mean, you don't have to name them, but I'm just wondering, do you have any students in your academy right now who are pursuing jiu-jitsu full time, much like you did when you were younger? And are you providing them any sort of a support system that you never had?
Yeah. Yes. And I think that's huge, right? I mean, I think I remember early on in jujitsu, um, you know, it's changed over the years. And I remember early on in jujitsu, if you know one of your students went somewhere else, or one of your students, you know, was teaching or something like that, there was a lot of like rivalry and craziness back in the day. And I've just always felt like, you know, there's plenty of jujitsu to go around. I mean, there is plenty of people that want to learn jujitsu, and everybody has a different style, and everybody has a different, you know, niche, and they can find their way. And so, yeah, I mean, I've got, like I said, and I don't mind naming her all because she's a great teacher. My black belt Denise Holcomb, you know, and she's got a really different teaching style than I do, but she's, you know, she is a great teacher, and I'm getting her to teach and do women's self-defense seminars and different things like that. And she teaches a lot of private lessons at my academy. And yeah, I mean, like I said, there's guys that want to affiliate with me, and I always tell them, well, you know, just start training with me. And then a lot of my guys, my higher belt guys, will go and train at their academies and stuff like that. And some of them even picked up teaching jobs over there. And I just think that's something that, you know, you you really have to, you know, cultivate. And I mean, really, you know, my jujitsu career has kind of had ebbs and flows, and different things have become important to me. And for sure, when I started competing and winning championships was really important to me. Then opening up a school was really important to me. And I think what's important to me now is that legacy. I mean, I would really love to see black belts of mine having schools and opening up schools and teaching seminars. I mean, to me, that's going to be a very exciting time. I can't wait for that. And anything that I can do to help them do that, I will most definitely help them.
That's awesome. Are you like currently? Do you have any guys in your school, guys or girls? Sorry, I should always say any students who are you know someone to look out for on the scene right now? I mean, we like when you talk jiu-jitsu, you always talk. Everyone talks California, right? Like your schools, like in Atos, even Health Gracie, Cobrinha, you know, schools like that. Like, is there anybody out in the Seattle region that we should keep an eye out for? Someone that, you know, even someone that we might even have on, you know, the podcast as well. Is there someone that an unknown talent that we don't know about?
You know, there's a lot of up and coming guys here in Seattle, and like I said, you know, the community, the jiu-jitsu and MMA community up here is getting bigger and bigger. Man, you know, I think there's a lot of guys to be looking out for. I mean, I've got some blue belts right now that are just so good, and you know, and have that desire to go to like these bigger tournaments and things like that. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you start hearing some names coming out of Seattle. I'm, you know, off the top of my head, I don't know. I don't want to start naming people because then I feel like I would leave somebody out. But
No.
I'll just say this, you know what I mean? But I'll just say
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
We've got a lot of really great guys and a lot of really good competitors coming out of Seattle right now. Especially like, and I think everybody knows with like, you know, MMA, there's a lot of really great MMA guys coming out of Seattle and the Seattle area right now as well. So, yeah, man, look out for us because I think you know, we're quickly approaching, you know, a kind of scene that could maybe rival the scene down in California. We're gonna try anyway, right?
That's awesome.
It really seems like the high level talent is getting younger and younger these days too. Like with the popularity of jiu-jitsu growing, like really you see it at tournaments, these younger guys all the time just tearing it up.
Absolutely, man. And I'll tell you, you know, uh, not only are they starting jujitsu earlier, because I mean, I remember this, like, you know, all us old farts sitting on the mat, and a new guy would come in, like that was like 16 or something, and we would all look at each other and we'd all say the same thing, you know, boy, I wish I started when I was 16, right? But now, I mean, I got a kids program, and there's like 5-year-olds that are, you know, doing flying arm bars. Like I can't even believe it, you know. But not only are they starting younger now, which I think is really, you know, great. But the other thing too is, and I think this is a big reason why we're seeing so much, you know, younger guys so good right now, is I really believe that the instruction is getting better. You know, we've really figured out how to train guys. both with their conditioning and all that stuff, but really like helping them develop a jiu-jitsu game at an early age. I remember for me and like for a lot of the older guys in jiu-jitsu, it was like you learned so much jiu-jitsu stuff in such a scattered way that it was up to you to kind of put it all together over 10 or 15 years. But now we're getting so good at really streamlining that and making their training so effective that young guys are just, it's unbelievable the the jiu-jitsu that is being produced now. I 100% agree with you. It's crazy.
Would you say that's due mostly to, like, my instructor? He brought up a good point, and I don't know, take it for what it's worth. I did the World Masters last year. It was a
Yeah.
tough competition. I'll be honest with you. I've never done a Masters tournament before, even though I was eligible about 6 years ago. And going into it, I didn't give it the respect it deserved. Now, so hear me out. So what he mentioned, and it made really good sense, is that jiu-jitsu used to be like yourself, people who come from a judo background, a wrestling background, and and then they phase into jiu-jitsu. They're very well-rounded. That's what you get in Masters. Now, what you're getting lately with the newer young talent, it's a pure jiu-jitsu game, right? So I'm not saying they're not well-rounded either, but they know jiu-jitsu. It's much like MMA. You have the new crop of MMA guys are pure MMA. They train MMA. Back in the day, it's like they would train jiu-jitsu, and then he, pick up on some boxing and then bring it into play. So what are your thoughts on that? I mean, is that something where, that's the only type of guys that's going to do well in this sport now, is a pure jiu-jitsu background versus, a well-rounded guy of my generation, or even your generation as well?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, and I've got that's a pretty good question. It's interesting because you could really look at it in several different ways, and hopefully this doesn't, hopefully I don't knock some of the newer generation, because I really feel like these guys are phenomenal. I don't want to take anything away from them. But like you said, a lot of the old school guys like myself and we started with judo and wrestling backgrounds, and the work ethic in wrestling and the work ethic in judo is so intense, especially like wrestlers. And I think that just makes for good competitors. And I mean, by the time I did my first jiu-jitsu competition, I don't know how many hundreds of wrestling competitions I've already had, and how many, hundreds of judo competitions I'd already had. So I think we were just much more prepared. But like I said, though, I don't want to take anything away from the new generation, because I think they are starting to work hard. I think there was a little period of time there where, maybe they didn't have the work ethic that the old school guys are, but I think they're figuring it out. And I think they're really getting their diet on point, and I really think that they're getting their conditioning on point, and so I think that they are going to be as good and as exciting and as well rounded as some of the older guys do. Hey, listen, everybody's cross training now too. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's doing a little bit of judo and a little bit of wrestling, and so I think hopefully anyway, I think this younger generation is learning a little bit. I sound like an old man, but hopefully this younger generation is learning a little bit, or taking a little bit from us, and that work ethic and stuff like that, and applying it to their jujitsu today. I think so.
Yeah, Brian, just like backtracking a little bit,
Yeah.
I've heard it countless times. Like I've heard it so many times that the work ethic that people learn from wrestling is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've never actually asked somebody why they say that. Like I can imagine the training sessions were hard, but you get it so consistently where everybody says that that wrestling just made them a hard worker in general. What can you like maybe step us through? Because I'm unfortunately a purist. I've never done anything but jujitsu. But can you
Yeah.
like step us through like what you mean by that?
Well, I think the one thing that wrestling, does, and the thing is wrestling at a very young age. When people get into it at a very young age, um, it's like It's the hardest training of just like any like sport that you would go through in high school. You know, I mean, I remember in junior high, so I don't know how old you are in junior high, you know, but I remember in sixth, seventh grade, I remember having, you know, 2.5, 3 hour practices. You know, I remember starting practice, wrestling practice, because, you know, wrestling season, basketball season go on at the same time. I remember starting wrestling practice before the basketball guys started their practice, and I remember them leaving way before we got done. You know, I just think, you know, it's a kind of a matter of pride with like wrestling coaches and competitors that they just work you hard. I think it's really something that, you know, they really kind of take pride in. And the other thing though too is, you know, wrestling, especially like when you're in junior high and high school and things like that. I mean, you are having competitions. You're having tournaments once, twice, 3 times a week sometimes, and so there's no downtime. You're always, you know, training and wrestling hard in such a focus at such a young age that I think it just instills in you as you grow up that, you know, your success is going to be dependent upon how hard you work. Um, I guess that's the best thing I can say. I mean, it's just so ingrained into a wrestler from such a young age that you have to work hard if you want to succeed.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, yeah,
Right. Yeah.
like I said, it's just I've heard everybody say it, but I guess I can understand it. Like if you're getting pushed, especially at a young age, where I don't think most people even are, like they're just kind of just playing really, right? I could definitely see that.
And you know, I mean, that's the thing too. I think, you know, like I said, I think wrestling coaches, you know, and former wrestlers and things like that, it really is something. It's a culture, right? It is a matter of pride to them that they work hard and they push their team hard. And I think it's just a culture that's instilled in a young age like no other sport. Now, I haven't played a ton of other sports, and so I don't want to be disrespectful, but I just think in wrestling, it's on a different level. It's a matter of pride, you know.
That's awesome. Speaking of wrestling and putting it all together, you've done MMA, right?
Yeah, I did. You know, back when MMA, not that it's, you know, I mean, it's much more regulated and sociably acceptable now. But yeah, man, I did MMA back when it was pretty sketchy, on like on Indian reservations with no paramedics or anything. I was like, now do you need me to fill out any paperwork or anything? They're like, no, just get in there. I remember the first fight that I ever did was I was there to do a like this halftime freak show, this 5 man on 5 man tag team submission match,
Oh.
right? So
What?
I was just there to do that, and then like maybe like, you know, 15 minutes before I fought, you know, the promoter said, "Hey, we had a 155er back out. Would you like to fight?" And I said, "Sure, yeah, okay." You know, and I think he gave me like $50 for it or something like that. You know, I mean, but yeah, yeah. So I did MMA, if you could call it that, but it's nothing like it is today. You know, it's so regulated and
Were you
so.
even wearing gloves? Holy hell!
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You know, it was like 15 minutes before, and he's like, "Well, let me tape your hands," and I was like, "Okay." Like I didn't know you had to have your hands. But yeah, I ended up doing, you know, over the years, I think starting like in 1990, I think the first MMA, I think that was like maybe 95 or something like that. And, you know, in some various sketchy form or another, whether they called it pancration or whether they called it like level A, B, or C, you know, MMA or things like that, I ended up doing like 27, you know, kind of mixed martial arts fights.
Holy crap!
I mean,
Oh,
listen, come on, guys. I mean, really, it's like, you know, that was back in the day where, like, you know, I mean, just having like a wrestling background was like so unique, you know, because normally,
Uh,
I mean, back in that day, it was like guys that were, I mean, they were tough guys that like had no martial arts experience, but they thought, we'll have a few beers and give it a go, So it's not quite like it is today where we've actually got these really trained athletes in there. So
you know what though? I think even though that's true, it's like what you did is actually there's screaming going on in where I live right now. But
yeah, no problem.
Yeah, what's going on in San Francisco, man?
I don't know. There's like a party.
Come on, in San Francisco, there's always screaming going on. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, exactly. But no. What I was saying is what you did is almost kind of a little more respectable almost because that must have been so much scarier. Well, think about it. It's like now it's very mainstream. People aren't as it doesn't because I remember as a kid seeing like UFC and stuff. I thought that was like the most violent, crazy thing you could ever do, and I still think it is. It's just it doesn't have that stigma around it, and you're just like, yeah, I'll do that with 5 minutes.
Well, that's funny. I always tell my guys, and whether it's like a jiu-jitsu competition or anything else, it's funny, I mean, and you guys know that you guys have done jiu-jitsu competitions and stuff. A lot of times it's like you get there early in the morning and you wait all day long, and then especially like if it's a local tournament, sometimes it's like, well, we don't have anybody in your weight class. Can we put you up into a higher weight class? Or we don't have anybody for your blue belt. Can we put them in a purple belt? I mean, there's so many things that happen in jiu-jitsu competitions and stuff. And I've always told my guys, when anybody asks you, do you mind if you go up into the upper weight class? Or do you mind if you do, like, don't even think about it. Just say, yes, I'll do it. I'll do it. Because if you start like second guessing yourself and you start wondering, well, I don't know, should I go up into that weight class or this? You're already losing in your head. You know what I mean? And so it was just my mentality that like, I mean, I was there to do a submission wrestling thing, so I had trained and I was ready. Somebody asked me if you wanted to do an MMA fight. I said, well, yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't even think about it because if you think about it, well, then you probably shouldn't do it. You just need to get in there and be confident in your skills. And I got punched in the face, but I shot a double and I took him down, and I mean, it worked out for the better. So, I mean, I think that's just it. You just, I think people get in their heads too much when it comes to those things, and they start worrying about all the different variables. Hey, listen, just get in there and try it and have fun, and don't even worry about all that stuff,
That being said,
awesome.
when you compete, do you look into your opponents beforehand, like to get an idea what their game is like, or do you prefer to know nothing about them?
No, I don't. I don't look, I don't watch any tape on anybody, and I know this, and I'm not saying that this is right, okay? But I don't look at any tape on anybody. A lot of times when, I sign up for a tournament and, they have a list of the competitors in your weight class and stuff, I don't look at it, and I tell people, don't tell me who's in my weight class. Don't tell me who signed up. I don't want to know. I train for every aspect of a match. I train to be on the bottom. I train to be on the top. I train for the takedown. I train for the guard pull. No matter what and no matter who, I train for that. And that's the thing I feel like for me, if I start trying to look at videotape of people or trying to figure out their game, or then I'm just getting in my head, and I just am very confident in what I can do, and I'm just going to go out there and try to do it no matter who's in front of me. So that's my philosophy. I don't know if it's a good philosophy, but that's my philosophy.
I really agree with you on that. Like, I mean, I sort of feel the same way. I almost feel like once you know who you're competing against, you're like, if they have a reputation, it's like, oh, this guy, he's really good at this. So, like, I don't want to be there. But I mean, if you're confident in your ability to do whatever it is that you do, you might as well just get in there and do it.
Absolutely. And the thing is this.
Jordan takes it, yeah.
If you start look, and this is
Sorry,
how I.
sorry, go ahead.
Like if you start like looking at somebody's game and trying to figure out what it is that they do, well, then you're going to get, subconsciously pulled into their game. And I just don't do that. I mean, I'm prepared for everything, and I'm prepared for whatever game that they have. And, listen, I always tell people, I hope they look at my fights. I hope they look at my matches. I hope they start worrying about certain things that I do, because I want to pull them into my game. I don't want to get pulled into their game. Um, I know, and listen, I know everybody has their process, and I know a lot of people don't feel that way, and I totally respect that. But that is really how I feel about it. Nah, I got my game. I know what I can do, and that's what I'm going to worry about.
There are a lot of guys at tournaments that they don't even like to watch the other fights that are going on their mats. Like
I'm definitely the same way. I can't look at my matches or
Either
people.
can I, man. Either can I. I don't even look.
See, Jordan takes it one step above all that. He doesn't know anyone in the jiu-jitsu community, let alone his opponents or anything
I'm the
like that.
worst person to be
doesn't.
doing a podcast.
Yeah, he really
Listen, Jordan, listen,
doesn't
you
know.
got good company, because listen, I'll tell you, one of my coaches, everybody knows the legendary Rigan Machado. Rigan Machado is so funny. He doesn't know who's competing. He doesn't know. I mean, half the times. Listen, the guy didn't even know the rules of Sambo on his way out to the Nationals and won the Nationals. So, good company, brother. It's better not to know.
Oh man, like these guys will be like, "Oh, we got so and so on the podcast. That's gonna be awesome." I'm like, "Oh, does that person do jujitsu?"
Just because you don't know that, Jordan, I'm just gonna let you know I'm a big deal.
Jake already told us that you were a really big deal, so we already knew.
That's fun. No, I just jokingly
that's
say
awesome.
that because, a lot of guys, they really don't know who I am. I'm kind of a sleeper. Maybe I don't, it's just because I'm not a very good businessman. I don't have my face out there. But it's really funny. The reason why I say that is because not too many people do know who I am, and I almost, a lot of times, Jake kind of talks them into having me come out and do a seminar for them. And then when I have when I put on a seminar for them, they're like, "Oh, that was great. When can we get you back? I didn't know, where have you been? We didn't know, they've never heard of me." I'm like, come on, guys. My initials are BJJ. What do you expect? Come on.
It's funny because jiu-jitsu, we've said this forever. There's no money in jiu-jitsu. There really isn't. And the fact that you're still like that, you open up a school, you have seminars going on. I mean, that's amazing. Like you're a good inspiration for those who want to get into jiu-jitsu for money. We're not in it for obviously we're not in it for money.
I don't think
this podcast runs
this money though. Or strictly.
No, no, I know, but some people want to. Some people have expressed interest in doing it, and I mean, you seem to be doing it the right way. You know what I mean? And that's amazing.
And like I said, I mean, a lot of guys, and which I understand this, by the way. I'm not knocking this, and I don't, I'm probably gonna shoot myself in the foot here, but a lot of guys will contact me and they want to get an affiliate. They want to affiliate with me, and and I understand wanting to be a part of a bigger thing, and they want to be able to put like, in their flyer or on their website, our jiu-jitsu coaches, two-time world champ Brian Johnson stuff. And I say that's fine, but the first step in affiliating with me is train with me. Like, come train with me. Like, get on the mat with me. And I don't know if that's necessarily the smartest business move, but I just really believe that. I mean, I'm a Machado brother. I train with the Machado brothers. And I'm a Machado affiliate because I train with them. They teach me jiu-jitsu, not because they have a cool name or not because they have titles, but because they'll get on the mat and they'll train with me, And that's really where I've always felt is where my passion lies. My passion lies with doing jiu-jitsu with people that I really like. My passion doesn't, lie with making money on my passion.
But that's understandable, and I think that's a really good idea in that, like, you don't want to get into business with people that you don't really know, right? I mean, they're
Absolutely.
using your name to make money, essentially, is what it is. So if you have no idea what their jujitsu is like, you've never rolled with them or anything, like, these people are, they're basically, they're representing you now.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
That's a good point.
100% agree. And again, like I said, I mean, I understand people would like to associate themselves with a big name, but I know a guy that he affiliated with a very big name in jiu-jitsu, and I remember talking to him a little bit, and I said, "So how is it training with uh, you know, uh, put the big name there. I said, how is it training with this guy? I mean, it's got to be great. He's a legend." And the guy said, "Yeah, I've never really trained with him." I said, "What are you talking about? You're one of his affiliates and you've never trained with him? Like, that didn't make sense to me. I don't understand that." But, for him to be able to, put that guy's name on his sign was a business move. And that just to me seems so contrary to what we're doing here and what the martial arts are all about. But
I
again,
I've heard, yeah, I was gonna say I've heard other affiliates what they've done is that if this is a big affiliate, I won't say the name, but if you open a school under them and then you try to go visit them, they'll still make you pay like a drop-in fee. You know what I mean? And like you're you're representing them. It's crazy. It just shows you
it's crazy
just
to me.
shows you where it's at. Yeah.
That's the thing.
Jake.
I
Uh,
definitely go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, sorry, Ray. Jake. I know you're just about saying something there, but I was gonna say we're getting close to our hour and we need to wrap it up. And I was wondering, but I'm gonna allow you to finish your last thought though.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, I've got a guy up in Canada, a guy named Harry Bateson, who, about 10 years ago, 8 to 10 years ago, came to me and he said, he really wanted to affiliate with me, and I kind of told him, well, just let's start training. And that guy, he comes down, he takes like a 2 hour, 3 hour drive, at least, several times a month to train with me. He has me up at his place to teach seminars and train his guys and train with him. I just did a seminar yesterday and he drove all the way out just to take my seminar. I mean, the guy he's legit. He wants to train jujitsu, and just like you guys were saying, those are the type of guys that I want to affiliate with. Those are the type of guys
Yeah.
that have the same theory and philosophy that I do. And if you want to get better at jujitsu, it's not about what name you put on your side. It's about doing jujitsu.
That's awesome. Brian, I just want to apologize because I did say Jake, and I had Jake's chat window up on my laptop, and
Yeah,
that's why I brought it. I'm sorry about that. So I just
no
wanna,
problem.
yeah, sorry about that. Totally sorry, my mistake.
Not,
Um,
not at all.
I was wondering, do you have any sponsors you'd like to, mention right now, or any upcoming seminars, or maybe even how to contact you?
Well, listen, I would like to use this time. I just did a seminar yesterday, and what it was a big benefit for the Oso mudslides. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. Here in Washington, it really kind of hits home for us. But there's a place up here in Washington called Oso, and there was just a crazy mudslide. And actually, I think it's now like the death toll is like there's 38 people passed away from this that got trapped in this mudslide, and it hits home to a lot of us down here because we have a lot of family and things from Oso. And so a lot of the jujitsu guys in the community, we just did a benefit to kind of help the Oso victims and their families and stuff. And I would say, like, if anybody would go to Oso Strong, it's OSO Strong .com, that they could kind of donate and help the families of this tragedy. That would be great. If I could spend my time kind of promoting something or doing something, I think it would probably be that, because I think it's a great cause and it really hits home to us here. So hopefully, I know that's not nearly as exciting as like thanking some rash guard company or something like that, but that's what's really that would be really great if guys
What?
go to
What's the website called again? Oso. How do you spell it?
Oso Strong. It's OSO, and
Yeah.
that's the name of the town. Oso Strong, and
Yeah, because I'm trying to get that to work right now, actually, and it's not coming up for me.
really, I can send it to you guys. Well, the truth is I'll have Jake send it to you because he's the brains behind this operation.
Oh, okay.
He does all the stuff, but I'll make sure that we send it to you guys. But if that would be great if you know any of your listeners could donate to that. That would be phenomenal. Even if it's like $1 or $2. You know, we were able to raise close to $6,000 yesterday, and anything else, anything will help them. So
Sure. Yeah, we'll definitely promote that then.
thanks, guys, man. I appreciate that.
For sure.
And that's it, guys. I'm gonna wrap this up. Just because Adam has been having technical difficulties, so in case you guys haven't noticed, it was pretty much me, Rami, Jordan, and of course our guest Brian. Adam's been running some issues at home, I think, running on I don't know what internet he's got going on there, but that's okay. So I'll wrap us up. That was episode number 33. Brian, thanks very much for joining us again and putting up with the technical issues that we had this this evening.
Hey, thank you guys. I really appreciate it, man. Love what you guys are doing. That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, guys. And like I said, look forward to our Clark Gregg episode, which will air soon. That's all I can say for now. And we have a bunch of guests lined up in the queue right now. We're trying to get to them as fast as we can. So thanks again, everyone, and have a good night.
Are we off air yet?
No.
No.